Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how you can create a responsive testimonial Elementor slider in WordPress from scratch using the Elementor free version. In this Elementor slider tutorial, I'll be using only a free Elementor HTML widget and no other plugins. Furthermore, this free slider will work with both free as well as paid versions of the Elementor without any issue. So without any further ado, let's get started. In order to create this testimonial Elementor slider, you will be required to install only the Elementor Page Builder plugin. Once you will install the Elementor plugin, then go to the WordPress dashboard. Now hover over the Pages tab, then click on the Pages option. Now here you will get the list of all the existing pages of your website. If you want to add a testimonial slider on a completely new page, then click on the Add New button. And if you want to add the testimonial Elementor slider on your existing page, then click on the Edit with Elementor link. For now, let's add our Elementor testimonial slider on our home page, so let me click on this link. Now, once the Elementor editor page will load, then scroll down to the location where you want to add the testimonial slider. Now here is one thing you need to keep in mind. I am using the alpha version of Elementor Flexbox Container. The Flexbox Container feature will soon replace the Elementor editor's current section column and inner section layout. I am using this Elementor Flexbox Container layout because I wanted to make this tutorial more relevant in the future. By the way, this Elementor slider will work with both column-based as well as the Flexbox Container-based layouts of Elementor. If you want to use this Elementor portfolio slider on your live website, then create it with the current Elementor layout to ensure that everything works properly on your website. Now you can either drag and drop a container into this box, or you can also click this button to add one. Now add a heading, a divider, a text editor, and an HTML widget, one after the other. Now, change the heading and paragraph text content to suit your needs. Now change the divider width, font family, color, size, and weight of your heading and paragraph as desired. Similarly, customize the heading, divider, and paragraph for tablet and mobile too using this responsive mode tool. Now select the HTML widget from the navigator. Now here, to create the same testimonial Elementor slider as shown in the video introduction, we will be using HTML, CSS and a popular slider library known as slider.js. Guys, I'm going to walk you through the process of creating an Elementor slider from the very basic, and after watching the complete video, you will be able to easily create a similar slider for your WordPress website even if you don't know anything about the coding. By the way, I have included a download link to the complete code snippet in the description. You can download it at any time, but before that watch the complete video, otherwise, your slider may not function properly. Now, go to swiperjs.com. Once the website will load, then click on the Get Started link. And then click on this link. Now copy the Swiper slider CSS and JavaScript CDN links together. And then go back to your Elementor editor page. Now, inside the HTML widget, paste the copied CDN link. Now go back to sliderjs.com. Then click on the demo link. you will get many demo sliders, but for now, we will be using this scroll bar slider, so click on the same link from the left side. After that, click on this link. Once you will click on the same link, then this demo page with code snippet will open. In order to create our testimonial slider, we need to copy and paste this much HTML and this much JavaScript code because we need to create a similar HTML skeleton with the same classes, otherwise our slider will not work. However, you can add as many classes and content as you need later on, as long as you keep the basic structure and the exact same native classes in place. Now that we have copied and pasted the necessary codes from the demo slider, let's start customizing the HTML skeleton to meet our content needs. Now, in addition to the existing classes, let me add a few more. Our first slider starts with this comment line and ends with this line. Now, inside this swiper slider div, add two child elements containers. The first is a div container with the class head, and the second is a paragraph container element. Now, inside the head div, let's create two child divs, the first with the class profile area and the second with the class stars. Similarly, inside the profile area div, create two child divs, the first with the class avatar for the profile picture and the second with the class info for the person's information. Now to add the profile picture, go to the WordPress media library and then drag and drop the perfect square profile images inside this box. Now that I have already uploaded all the required images to my media library, let's add this image as one of the profile pictures. Now, I strongly advise you to include a perfectly square image with a dimension of 150 by 150 pixels. Now copy the image URL from here, and go back to the Elementor slider page. Now add an img tag with the src attribute, and then paste the copied profile image link in between the double quotation marks of the src attribute. Now here you can see, a profile picture has appeared. Let's add the person's name and title to the info div container. In the h4 heading tag, write the person's name, and in the small tag, write the person's title. Now let's add the rating stars. To add the rating stars, go to the fonts.google.com/icons. By the way, I have included all of the resource website URLs in the description, so you can visit them whenever you like. Now once the website will load, then search for the required icon keyword, and then click on the filled category. Now click on the same icon whichever you want to use. Then copy the icon HTML code from here, and then go back to the Testimonial Elementor slider editing page. Now paste the copied star rate icon HTML code inside this div. Let's duplicate this line 3 more times, since I want to add 4 full stars followed by a half-star rating, for a total of 4.5 stars. To add the half-star rating icon, just go back to the Google Material Icon website. Now here, you can use this icon to add a half star, and you can use the outline version of the star icon to add an empty star. We have now added all of the required stars for a 4.5 star rating. However, The star icons are not visible because the Google Material icon CDN link has not been added to our code snippet. To add the CDN link, just go back to the Google Material icon website. Then click on any icon, and then click on this link. Once you will click on the same, then this page will be open. Now, scroll down a little, and you'll see a heading for the Google Font Setup method. Now copy the Google Material icon CDN link from here, and then go back and paste the same link inside the HTML widget of your Elementor testimonial slider. As you can see, our rating stars have now appeared. Let me now paste some dummy text content inside our paragraph tag. Now that we have successfully customized a single testimonial slide of our Elementor slider, we'll move on to the next step, but first, let me delete these unwanted demo slides code blocks. Now, select and copy the complete code of the newly customized slide, and then paste to duplicate the copied code as many times as you want. For the time being, I want to add a total number of 5 testimonial slides, so let me paste the copied slide code blocks 4 times because I have already added 1 slide. After you have duplicated all of the testimonial slides you need for your Elementor slider, then change the profile image link, text contents, and the rating as per your requirement. Now, we have changed the required content of the slides. Let's add pagination to our slider. To do so, go to swiperjs.com, then click on the API link. Now click on this link. Then copy this much code, and then return to the Elementor slider editing page to add pagination to your slider. Now paste the copied code block just here. Currently, pagination is not showing in our slider, because we have not added the pagination JavaScript code block in our slider code snippet. To do so, go to the Swiperjs website, and then click on this option after clicking on the API link. Now, here is the pagination JavaScript code block. Instead of copying the entire code block, just copy and paste this much code because the initializer code is already included in our Elementor slider code snippet. If you want to add more functionality to your Elementor slider pagination, you can do so by adding any relevant parameters. For example, if you want to make clickable pagination, then add this clickable word followed by a colon followed by a comma just below this line. Similarly, you can add as many parameters as you want. Let's add the clickable, dynamic bullets, and dynamic main bullets parameters. Now here, if you set this parameter to true, then clicking on the pagination button will cause the transition to the appropriate slide. If you use bullets pagination with a large number of slides, then set this parameter to true. As a result, only a few bullets will be visible at a time. With the help of this parameter, you can set the number of main bullets visible when the dynamic bullets parameter is set to true. Now, copy this much code for the pagination. Then go back to the Elementor slider editor page. Now, just paste the copied code here. Here, you can see that our pagination bullets have appeared, but they are not currently clickable. To make them clickable, simply add a clickable parameter with a true value. Now here you can see that our pagination bullets become clickable. Let's add the dynamic bullets parameter. To enable the dynamic bullet, set this parameter to true. And with this parameter, you can control the number of visible bullets as previously explained. Now here, we have the default scrollbar JavaScript block from the demo slider code snippet. If you want to hide this scrollbar or this pagination, then remove this div for the scrollbar, and remove this div for pagination, and also remove the respective JavaScript code block from here as well. Now, inside the scrollbar JavaScript block, let's set a false value to hide parameter, and add a loop parameter with the true value. Let's now add a JavaScript code block to make the slider autoplay. To do so, go to the swiperjs.com API page, then click on the autoplay sidebar option. Now, copy this much JavaScript for the Elementor slider autoplay, and add these two more parameters for disable on interaction, and pause on mouse enter functionality. Here is the time delay between two slides. If you enable this parameter, then slide autoplay will stop automatically when you hover over the mouse. If you enable this parameter, the slider autoplay will stop after user interaction and will not resume until the user refreshes the page. Let's now add the JavaScript code block for mouse scroll wheel interaction. To do so, go to the swiperjs.com API page, then click on the mouse wheel scroll control sidebar option. Now, copy this much JavaScript code, then go back to the Elementor slider editor page. Now paste the copied JavaScript code just here. Here you can see that we can slide our slider using a mouse scroll wheel. Now that we have completed the HTML and JavaScript portions of the Elementor slider creation process, let's style our WordPress slider with CSS. Let's start by defining a few CSS root variables for our Elementor slider CSS. Now that we have defined the CSS variables, let's change the colors of the pagination and scrollbar. Now, this CSS code block will affect the color and opacity of the inactive pagination bullets. If you want to change the color or opacity, do so from here since these variables are used in this code block. This CSS code block will affect the color and opacity of the active pagination bullets. You can change the same variables from here. This block is affecting the color of this scrollbar drag section. You can change the drag color with the help of this variable. Now, this CSS code block is affecting the color of the main body of the scrollbar. With the help of this variable, you can change the main body color of the scrollbar. One thing you need to keep in mind is that the CSS classes used in these three code blocks are coming from the swiperjs library, so don't change any of the default CSS classes, otherwise, your slider will not work. In fact, to avoid making mistakes, I strongly advise you not to change any of the CSS classes in this code snippet. Let's now style the main slider container and its elements. Now here this CSS code block is used to specify the font style for slider headings and paragraphs. If you want to set different fonts for any element, then duplicate this CSS code block. Then delete all the elements except the one element in which you want to set different font styles. And also delete the same elements from here in which you want to set different font style. For the time being, let's set Poppins font for all the text elements except paragraph. And for paragraphs, let's set the cookie handwriting font. To ensure that the font is consistent across browsers, we need to add the same Google Fonts link to internal CSS. To do so, go to fonts.google.com. You can now search for relevant font styles, and add more than one font style at a time. Let me add Poppins sans serif font and a cookie handwriting font. Once you will select the required font, click on this radio check, and then copy this much font style CSS excluding style tags from here. Now go back to the Elementor Testimonial slider editor page. Then paste the copied font style CSS just above the CSS root variable. Now to set the font style for your slider, just go back to the Google Fonts, then click on this icon, and then copy the font style declaration property CSS code excluding semicolons. Now go back to the Elementor slider editor page, then paste the same font style property just here. Similarly, copy and paste the font style property for the paragraph too. Now here, you can see, two different font styles are set for the heading and paragraph. For the time being, let's only use the Poppins font style across the slider, so let me delete this code block and insert the paragraph element inside this code block's selector. Let's declare the width of this div with the container class. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind is that this class is not declared anywhere in our code snippet because it is derived from the Elementor HTML widget container, which is a default native class of the Elementor widget containers. To understand clearly, just minimize the editor sidebar, then place the cursor over the Elementor slider, and then right-click and choose Inspect. Now here is the same Elementor widget class that we used as the main wrapper for our slider. Now let's declare the styling for this div with the carousel class. By the way, if you want to change the variable value of any CSS property, scroll to the root variable, and then change the value against the same variable. For example, let's change the CSS variable value of this width property. Here you can see how the width of the same container changes. Now let's declare the styling for this div with the Testimonial class. Let's declare the styling for this div with the head class. Now let's declare the styling for this div with the profile area class. Let's declare the styling for this div with the avatar class. Let's declare the styling for these two elements. Let's declare the styling for this div with the info class. Let's style the appearance of the Rating Stars container div with Stars class. This CSS code block is for the color and line height of the rating star, and this CSS code block is for the size of rating stars. Let's style this paragraph element. Now let's add the opening and closing quotation mark symbol. Here, if you want to change the quotation mark, then delete this quotation mark from here, and then copy and paste any Unicode symbol from any Unicode symbol website. Now that we have finished CSS styling for desktop devices, let's reduce the container width for tablet devices. Let us now declare the styling for the mobile with large display size. Let us now declare the styling for the mobile with small display size. Now we have successfully created our responsive Elementor testimonial slider. Guys, I want to tell you that it took me almost 20 hours to create this video for you. Please like and subscribe, it will take you only 2 seconds, and if you are facing any problems, then please let me know in the comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, I will see you next time.